Hi everyone, how's it going? First off, I want to talk about Giselle Pelicot briefly. Giselle Pelicot, I think is her name. She was the victim of a horrific mass grape situation, and the sentence was handed out yesterday. I believe that the sentence was 20 years for her ex-husband who arranged the whole thing, and shorter sentences were given to the men that participated in the gang rape or gang rape. Fuck, I've said it now. Um, Congratulations to her. I hope that she enjoys the 20 years that she is going to be able to enjoy without seeing that thing's face everywhere. I wish her the best. I wish her children the best. I don't think the sentence for what she endured is nearly long enough, not by a long shot. Those men should have got a lot more than they did. I think they should have got 20. I think the ex-husband should have got 20 years for each man that violated her, or for each instance of violation that she endured. I think he should never have come out of prison. He comes out of prison, he can easily do that to someone else. Hell no. And honestly, the men who joined in, they for them it's not long enough either. They should get 20 years, not the ex-husband. The ex-husband should be put away for life. But I'm guessing that this is the best we can do. And again, once again, shout out to Giselle Pellico. I hope she, again, enjoys the 2 decades without having to see her ex-husband, that abhorrent fucking creature. Okay? Now, now that I've gotten that out of the way, I wanted to talk about a couple of things that were on my mind. The first thing this is before I forget. I was ruminating on everything that I posted today about the Empress's Court pick a card reading. That's on Empress Justice Tarot if you want to go catch that. And I was talking about all the possessions that I had that I suspected that the gang stalkers wanted to steal because they've stolen £400 worth of electric. So what's a crystal? Um, but it's like looking through the possessions and realizing that every single possession that was given to me had a story of love behind it. I didn't even talk about that crystal ball that was on the table. That crystal ball was given to me by the same man whose spouse was an occultist, and he gave me that. And for me it means a lot, not necessarily because, not just because this person was a TI as well. It was because he gave something that meant so much to somebody that he loved with his whole heart. So when I look at that crystal ball and when I look at that chest I was given, I see love, right? When I look at the crystal cluster that I inherited from my mum, I see love. When I see the little dragon statuette, I see love. When I see, the little peacock that I got with my female TI friend when we were in Devon, right? I see love. I see so much love in front of me when I lay it out on the table. And that's when I started to realize that it wasn't things that I was protecting, it was what they meant. And the meaning is the one thing that the gang stalkers always try to weaponize against you. They always try to weaponize the significance that you hold in, not just in the things that you have, but in the feelings that you hold inside. Like, they always want to turn your love against you. They always want to, by taking it or by ruining it, they always want to turn your love against you. They always want to turn your happiness against you. But I realized that the thing about that type of love, the type of love that gave me the things that I have, is that those things are finite, but love isn't. Baby, I have learned, like, throughout my time of being a targeted individual, that even when you are a targeted individual, that love is not finite. It's never been finite, and it never will be finite. Even if you don't see the people who benefit you, there's always someone around the corner waiting to be your champion, or waiting to at least give you some semblance of love or kindness or generosity. There's always going to be somebody willing to give you that. And there's always going to be somebody willing to give you that with their whole heart and not just because they think they can get something from you. That's the reality of a targeted individual. Even when you go through masses of fucking pain and you're bombarded with electronic torture and you're purposefully isolated by having rumors spread about you, by having your house broken into, by having every single semblance of your life be like a fucking minefield. Even when you have all of this going on, the love that fucking persists, they can't get, it's like they can't take that. It doesn't matter what they do, they can't take that from you. They can't take that from you. And you want to know how I know that? They tried to take my love away from me by killing my mother, and they still failed. They still failed. They failed to take the love that was so dear to me. I still have it here. It's never gone away. It's never going to go away. It's not going anywhere. That love is there for the rest of my life and even afterwards. That love is eternal. The love of my mother, the love of my grandmother, that's not going anywhere. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter whether they're here or not in body. Like, the love that they've left behind, that is not going anywhere. And it doesn't matter how much the gang stalkers try to take that love away from you by taking possessions that remind you of that love, or like being in your home and, you know, and siphoning off some of the happiness that you've accumulated for yourself to insulate yourself against the torture. It doesn't matter, because there's always going to be more on the way. Love isn't finite. Even joy isn't finite. And it's been a long time for me to learn that, but I'm learning that now. And the reality of that is humbling. The reality that love is never going to go away. It's never going to go away. It's never going to diminish. It can't be created or destroyed, and it's always going to come back around. The knowledge of that is wonderful. You know, it's wonderful, but it's also very humbling, and it makes you realize how small some of your concerns really are. If love never dies, then why worry about anything? What's the point? What's the point? If love is everywhere, what's the point in worrying about it? What's the point in worrying about anything? What is the point if love never dies? What is the point if love never goes away? What is the point in worrying? What's the point in worrying? I don't see a point anymore. I don't see the point. The only point I see is in doing the best you can to be happy and share that happiness with people who are worthy of it. That's the only thing I see worth a damn. You know? And it's like that, you know, they still failed to take the love from me. They still failed. Even with some of the worst TIs who are going through the worst pain right now, some of them at least have me to text when things go wrong. Do you understand? This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that the love that you experience as a TI, it never goes away. It just gets repurposed and comes back another way, an unexpected way, but it comes back another way, you know? And when it comes to my tarot and astrology, um, it really kind of dawned on me that if my perps can capitalize off my pain, and the people who hired the perps can capitalize off my pain, then why shouldn't I benefit from my pain? Why does everybody listen, it's not even just like as a marginalized person, as a black person or a woman or whatever, right? It's as a targeted individual as well. Why should everybody benefit from my pain and my suffering except me? Man, get the fuck out of here. This is one of the reasons why, when it comes to Empress Justice Tarot and Empress Justice Astrology, that even though I'm trying to make money and even though I'm trying to get myself out of the benefit trap, like, my thing is this: if my enemies can make bank from my pain and get their cheap little coupons from my pain, then I'm damn well going to make some money out of it. And not only am I going to make some money out of it, I'm going to make sure that I can make money from the TI community as well in a way that does not damage them. That's why the deals are there. So money goes back into the community. It circulates within the community without making the financial abuse of TIs worse. So, like, why shouldn't I make bank off my fucking pain? Why should everybody benefit from my pain but me? And in case anybody wants to say, well, that's the point in pain. Well, fuck that. Fuck that noise. If everybody else is going to benefit from my pain, my suffering, my humiliation, then I'm going to make bank off it too. I'm at least going to get some publicity out of that shit. When it comes to Empress Justice, I ain't even started yet, baby. I ain't even started with that shit. If I'm going to be in pain, if I'm going to go through all this shit, I'm going to get something out of it whilst my body is still functioning and whilst my mind is still functioning. And I'm going to make sure that TIs get something out of it too. I'm going to make sure when they come onto my channel that they are validated and they're not just written off as crazy or like all the rest of it, like like they are in every fucking other piece of media they see out there. I'm going to create entertainment that's not only centers them but validates them. When I do my readings, I have my TIs in mind. And I know that a lot of TIs are Christian and don't vibe with the occult shit. Okay, I hear you. Because a lot of our attackers and a lot of our enemies practice the occult with us, and that's how they keep us tortured. I'm not blind to that. I study alchemy and I study the occult. I'm not blind to it. See, look, you got marks here from where they fired electronic weapons on my pineal gland. Huh, baby, I know how they use dark magic. So I understand if you're not with the tarot shit or the occult shit, but if I can use those things to help targeted individuals, I'm going to do it. You can be a part of it or not be a part of it. You can find healing in your own way, but understand I am here for you regardless. And Empress Justice is here for TIs regardless. And it really is as simple as that. That said, I'm looking at all these, different ways of maximizing success and, getting myself out there and, doing the work necessary. And I realized that, I don't know, some of my perspective, even some of my empathy might be lost to what I'm trying to do. And the reason I say that is because when you are hustling or grinding, or at least when you are preparing, planning, working out what you're going to do from day to day, like scheduling your work or the work that you're going to do, scheduling your hobbies or making sure you're monetizing your hobbies, when you're trying to make your life more productive and you're trying to make your life more profitable, it's easy to think that because you've done it, everybody else can do it too. But then I started thinking to myself, well, first of all, I'm among the lowest radiation in the country. I think I'm the second lowest or some shit like that. So among everybody else in the country, my radiation is the second lowest. Okay. It's one of the lowest. I think it's the second lowest. I'm not sure, but it's one of the lowest in the country. Right. That's the first thing. The second thing is that when your electronic attacks are the second lowest in the country, it's very easy to look at your situation and think, well, if I can do it, then everybody else can do it. For the record, a lot of TIs can barely get out of bed for how badly they're being fucking bombarded with these weapons. There are some TIs who are lucky to be alive because of the ways that they're being electronically bombarded with these fucking weapons. There are TIs out there that have been beaten, like violated. So every time I'm grinding and I'm hustling and I'm planning and preparing, I always have this in the back of my mind. And I always pray to spirit, please don't let me lose my empathy. But it's difficult because when you want something, you have to be focused. You have to be myopic about what you're trying to accomplish. And sometimes some of your empathy has to get lost by the wayside. And sometimes you have to ignore the voices that are crying out for your help whilst you're working towards making something of yourself. That's probably one of the hardest things to navigate when you're trying to make something of your life, and especially making it off the back of, pain that not only you've gone through, but other people have gone through worse than you have. It's one of the most difficult things about, trying to make something of your life is that you're leaving people behind that have been through what you've been through, but worse, that, that not only may not feel that they are able to do what you do, but that really shouldn't have to, because they never deserve this to begin with. They never deserve this to begin with. I want to make bank off my pain. And I want to make bank off being challenged because I like it this way. I want to fight because I like it this way. And as much as I don't want to admit that to myself, a lot of my unwillingness to deal with conflict and my dislike of it is because I feel like when I'm in conflict with people, they dislike me. But as I've gotten older and I've learned to navigate, like I've learned to navigate that. I've learned to stop being so concerned with whether people like me or not. Seeing as I've learned to do that, I realize I like to fight. Even when I lose, I like to fight. I like to fight. So when I end up finding myself in pain, that's another fight. Bring it on. When I find that I can't move, even when I'm crying in pain, that's another fight. Bring that shit on. Let's see what it's got. When I get swelling on my jaw, that's another fight. When I can't walk, I can't get up because of the fucking attacks on my spine, that's another fight. Bring that shit on. Even when I'm crying in pain, that's another fight. And every fight that I learn to navigate, even when I lose, that's another lesson learned. That's another increased chance of me winning the next time I have to deal with that shit. So I like to fight. I like it this way. And I hate to admit it because a lot of people like the easy life. A lot of people like it comfortable. But that's not who I am as a woman. It's never been who I am as a woman. As much as I've tried to be like that, that's not who I am as a woman. I like to test my strength at all times, even in situations involving torture. That's why I could go through the worst fucking pain. And even though my gang stalkers tried to humiliate me with it, I'm like, I'm the one that survived the fucking pain, not you. Who you, who are you trying to humiliate with that shit? I'm like, I'm the one who fucking dealt with the pain, not you. Sit down. I like to fight. I like it this way. But then there are other TIs who don't have the fight in them. And I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck should they have to have the fight in them? Why the fuck should they have to be this way, be the way I am just to be able to make it out alive? Why should they have to? Why? Why should they have to put up with this shit? Why should they have to be tortured every day? Why should they have to go through this? There are people who are fucking dying. People are being murdered. Why should they have to be murdered? Why should it have to be a way where this world is so fucking cruel and nasty that only a few people are able to make it? Why should it be like this? It shouldn't. There are people out there who should be able to make it, who should be able to survive by being kind and being sweet and being lovely. Like Sahar Chinyer. Sahar Chinyer is one of those people. She's one of those people who survive by being kind and sweet and being lovely. Stronger person than me, I gotta be honest, but yeah, she's one of those people. And then there are some people who are able to survive by living a normal life. But the catch-22 is that when you are being gang stalked and you're being fucking tortured to death, that normal life is taken away from you. So some people's means of being able to survive and being able to preserve themselves, that's taken away from them. So in order to survive the situation, they've got to find a new way that is outside of who they are. Why should they have to do that? They shouldn't be going through the fucking shit in the first place. And whilst I'm out here trying to make a success of myself, that's always in the back of my mind. If I get what I want, I'm leaving some of these people behind whilst they're in more pain than they have ever been. And again, I'm in my flat, I'm on benefits, right? I'm not like some major political figure like that. Like I'm not like that, right? But I'm going to be real with you, right? I've always been narcissistic enough because I have narcissistic traits. I might not have the disorder, but I have the traits, right? I've always been narcissistic enough to think that I was meant for great things, even when I was younger. But the caveat is that it seemed like I would have to lose some of my humanity in order to become successful. And every single time I can feel myself becoming more focused on my readings, becoming more focused on trying to create a lane for myself. The more I become focused on turning my pain into power, I pray in the back of my mind, please let me retain my empathy. Because if I don't, then it was all for nothing. If I don't remember the marginalized every single time I climb up a rung, I climb a new rung on a ladder, every single time I do that, please let me remember them. Please let me remember the ones who can't do it. Please let me remember them every single time I climb a new rung. Let me remember them. Let me not leave them behind. And again, it's a bit narcissistic to think like that. It's like, it's very narcissistic to think that you're that important that you need to think like that. But there are things that I'm going to do with my life. It's not even a question. I'm going to fucking do it. And if I do it, I want to remember those who had my back during the darkest times of my life. I do not want to leave them behind like that. And if I do leave them behind, I want to make sure that at the right moment, I am able to give back to these people. And yes, I'm talking about TIs. And yes, I'm talking about the community that I come from, the communities that I come from. I'm talking about the Black community and the queer community, because they gave to me whether people know it or not. And when I reach a certain level, I want to give back to those people in one way or the other. And I'm not leaving my poor white people out either. There is a white best friend that I used to have. I'm pretty sure she's a perp, but even though she was a perp, when I didn't have a place to live, she fucking fought for me to stay at her house. I went through a lot with that person. It wasn't a good friendship, but when it came down to it, and when I was facing homelessness, she fucking fought. And when nobody else would take me in, she took me in. I've blocked her now, but that's more self-preservation than anything else. But nah, like the people that helped me out, I don't want to get to a certain level where I forget those people. I don't want to forget about them. Everything that I'm doing is for them. So I don't want to forget them. But sometimes I wonder, if I cling to them too tightly, am I doing them a disservice? Is the really like the best thing that I can do for all communities that I want to fight for is to just go everything alone and just be independent? Is that the best way forward? So like I think about these things a lot while I'm preparing and while I'm planning and while I'm practicing and while I'm researching. It's always in the back of my mind. I always remember those people who can't get the fuck out of bed because of how badly they're tortured. The people who've already been killed, their families who will never get justice. What's my role in it? What part can I play in this? And how can I play it? And again, one person can make a difference. And I know it's narcissistic of me in my current position to think that my role is that important, but like I do think about these things a lot. Speaking of gang stalking, the police came over. It wasn't a big deal. It's just that they needed to sign some paperwork. Um, Literally nothing's really changed. It's just, well, that's what they tell me. I don't know if that's true or not. But the victim has gone from being my neighbor to being my neighbor and the council. So they are the victim of the crime that I committed by busting the door lock or whatever and wanting to fight my neighbors. Um, and that particular police officer, normally I don't like police officers anywhere near my address, but something shifted. So I'm no longer like that hostile when it comes to police anymore, because it's like I feel like it's a combination of things. I feel like I've changed my attitude and they've changed their approach. So I feel like it's a multitude of different things. But when the policeman came over here, he was very cordial. Um, we were shooting the shit. I was saying, yeah, uh, talking about paperwork and making jokes about that. And I just had to sign the community resolution again. And apparently that community resolution, it stays on your record for 7 years. So if you commit another offense, you're definitely getting arrested. There is no question about whether or not you get arrested. And my point is this, right? If I end up violating a community resolution again, I'm going to do so with full awareness of the consequences. I am going to do so with full awareness of the consequences. Why? Because it's one thing for me to gain satisfaction from beating the shit out of people who are disrespecting me or who are humiliating me or who are, trying to torture me through my nervous system. It's one thing for me to get satisfaction for that. But these are people's lives that we're fighting for. It's not enough for me just to beat the piss out of somebody just because they're calling me a name. Even if it is for 3 years, it's not enough. This is about people's lives here. This is about my life. I'm being fucking tortured to death. Like what's a community resolution in comparison to that? And there's no court in the country for the people who were torturing me. They ain't about to have their time in court, so why the fuck should I worry about mine? You know what I mean? And I'm not even just fighting, well, I'm fighting for myself primarily. I am fighting for myself. But there are other people in this country who have lost their lives due to gang stalking, who didn't get the chance to fight. That chance was deliberately taken away from them so that they could be violated by everybody fucking else, and they didn't get what they were supposed to get. They didn't get the justice they were supposed to get. So if I have the chance to fight, I'm going to do it. Fuck the community resolution. I'm sorry, but it's like, it's about more than hurting people's feelings. These are people's lives that whole communities are fucking with for nothing more than ego. And not only are they fucking with people's lives for their own ego, it's literally having an effect on the rest of the world. The amount of false flags that have cost people's lives to manipulate people's emotions en masse, all of that is down to gang stalking. All of it. So if I start throwing hands, I'm not throwing hands just for me, even though I'm going to get sweet, delicious satisfaction out of that shit. And plus, I love to fight. So that's another bonus. Even if I lose, I love fighting. So I get to fight. I get to throw hands with people who fuck me around and disrespect me. So those are two things that I love to do. But at the end of the day, right, this is a fight for justice in every sense of that word. What's a fucking community order? Do you know the amount of TIs that are probably in psychiatric units? I can be a very persuasive person. How many people do you think I'm going to persuade in there? Let alone prison. Fuck off with that. There are so many prisoners in the prison cell that know the truth. I don't assume that prison is a holiday camp. It's fucking prison. But I can guess there are a healthy amount of TIs in there too, as well as perpetrators. Let's talk about it. Because when you're going through this program, you've got to think 5 to 10,000 steps ahead. And again, I can be very fucking persuasive, even when I don't talk. In fact, especially when I don't talk. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm going to be impulsive and I'm going to start throwing hands the next time somebody says something to me. Because again, it took me 3 years, not 3 years, tell a lie. It took me 2 years just to get to that point of breaking somebody's lock. It took 2 years for that to happen. If in another few years I get to that point again, I will do so fully aware of the consequences. Not only because I love to fight, I do. And not only because I'm tired of people disrespecting me, I am. But this is a literal fight for justice. This is a fight for people's lives. I don't fuck around with that shit. This is a fight for people's lives. I don't fuck around. Hell no. So if that community order comes around, again, I'm fully aware of the consequences. I'm fully aware of what's going on, but that's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do when I need to do it. Because the police ain't about to do shit. They're in the gang stalkers' pockets. We all need to take that risk, unfortunately. We can't leave it to the Luigi Mangiones of the world. I'm not being funny. I don't think that was even fucking him that killed the CEO. Maybe the CEO isn't even dead. I don't even know. Tinfoil hat is tingling like a motherfucker right now. I don't even know if like Luigi Mangione is even the guy who killed him. He probably isn't. But he's relying on the public to delude themselves, or whoever set that false flag up is relying on the public to delude themselves. And as I wrote on my Facebook status, I'm saying this for primarily for people on YouTube, because I'm going to upload this video there. But have you guys noticed that New York is one of the places for false flags? Have you noticed that? Like one of the most diverse states in the fucking country, and that's like one of the main fucking states in the US for false flags. That's not by accident. Not to mention that poor man Jordan McNeely, who was murdered by that piece of Let me not go there. Let me not go there. I refuse to say that thing's name. I refuse. I refuse. R.I.P. to Jordan Neely. Another unarmed black man that was killed in cold blood. And we all know that's what happened across the world. We all know that's what happened. And yet that racist piece of garbage is being paraded around like a fucking dangling carrot to take people's minds off Luigi, to take conservatives' minds off Luigi. Something tells me it's not working that well, though. Thank God. I mean, if people have to get behind a false idol, at least get behind a false idol that represents something in the way of equality and equity. I mean, my God. But anyway, I gotta go now. Go ahead and check out the Empress's Court Pick a Card reading on Empress Justice Tarot. I've also got, the first quarter moon, last quarter moon. I keep saying first quarter, it's last quarter. Get it together, Empress. It's last quarter moon in Uttara Palguni on Empress Justice Astrology. So go ahead and check those out. I'll leave the links in the description. But for now, I love you guys very much. Peace and blessings. And I will see you in the next one. And if there are any TIs who've made it to the end of this video, please let me know how you guys are doing. I always want to hear from you. I love you lots. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye, loves.